What actually transpired with one of the most unusual families on reality TV? The Alaskan bush people won people over all over the world. Off camera, their stories took unexpected, darker turns despite their lively lifestyle. A number of cast members have experienced tragic events, including terrible deaths and stunning arrests. Situations that fans didn't expect. How do wilderness survival specialists wind up facing legal issues and emotional demons? Additionally, which Browns are now lost forever or behind bars? Join us as we unearth the secrets and make the what happened to the Bush family in Alaska in 2025. Billy Brown's tragic death. Billy Brown was the undeniable heart, the spirit of the Alaskan bush people, a man whose tough demeanor characterized the performance and motivated a large number of viewers. Early in life, Billy experienced a lot of suffering, including the devastating death of when he was only 16. His parents and sister perished in an aircraft accident. Looking for a way out and a new beginning, he sought refuge in the wilderness of Alaska, where he established a new life that eventually became the focal point of his family's narrative. Billy was the head of the Brown family for more than 10 years. Overcome the difficult conditions of bush life, consistently demanding uncompromising independence and a strong ties to the land. His choice to bring up 7 kids under such harsh circumstances had personal sacrifices but enthralled crowds. 2019 saw the emergence of health problems, first initially believed to be lung-related but ultimately identified as a cardiac issue, a finding that caused grave worries among many who were close to him. Doctors advised him to relocate, but Billy steadfastly remained committed to the mountains despite moving to a lower elevation for his health. And the way of life he cherished. Although they honored his wishes, his family endured the worry that his health could deteriorate at any time. Sadly, on February 7, 2021, Billy died at the age of 68 after suffering a violent seizure, leaving a profoundly impacted the legacy of the show as well as his family. Billy's passing was a devastating blow, not just for the Browns, but also for the supporters who had come to respect his fortitude and tenacity over the years. In an emotional Instagram tribute, his son Bear highlighted Billy's function as a devoted father and a self-reliant individual. The family promised to respect his memory and continue his dream, a duty that troubled them greatly as they faced an uncertain future in the absence of their father. The disclosure of Billy's deteriorating health had been discreetly revealed in earlier seasons, but nobody could have expected how soon things would happen. His determination to stay in the mountains represented his ferocious independence, but it also highlighted the dangers of the path he took. For Billy's death signaled the end of an era for many, causing them to consider the sacrifices essential to their distinct way of life. The Browns were getting ready for what was scheduled as in the show's 13th season. They publicly struggled with the loss while trying to maintain the family came together. Amy Brown and her siblings, Rain, Snow, Bear, Matt, and Bam Bam, Gabe and Noah were open about their difficulties finding fortitude in coping in the face of sorrow. Everyone knew that things would never be the same in life, but the will to keep going was still strong. Billy left behind a complex legacy that combined survival, exploration, and the harsh realities of the needs of nature. He served as a symbol of unwavering resolve and a reminder of the frailty of people, torn between the wild and the devotion of family. The Browns' narrative would continue to be shaped by his life and death, casting a lengthy shadow on their upcoming undertakings. His death also brought up challenging issues on the viability of the family's lifestyle and the facts underlying the depiction of bush survival in the show. Billy's health problems provided a clear illustration of the physical harm that this way of life may cause, even to its most committed adherents. Both family members and fans would have to speculate as to what would happen next in the aftermath of such a significant loss. Billy Brown's tale serves as a moving reminder that the delicate human heart, which is capable of great love, is hidden behind the bluster and the untamed frontier. Yet also susceptible to the capriciousness of fate. The Browns' struggles didn't stop there. The family also had to deal with devastating personal losses that increased their burdens as a group. The battle and death of Amber Nicole Branson. Amber Branson ventured into the Alaskan bush. People are not related by blood, but rather are intimately related through family. Relationships and loving connections. Amber was well known for her kind disposition and serene manner that made everyone who knew her adore her. She had a fleeting appearance on the reality show but made a deep impression with her kind disposition and the warmth shed to the atmosphere of the household. Even in times of calm, Amber's life was tainted by fierce internal conflicts. She had mental health issues that ultimately caused her to go into a vicious cycle of substance abuse, which she battled to escape. She appeared to be regaining control for a while, but sadly, a relapse brought fresh difficulties and eventually disastrous outcomes. In a catastrophic Hudson Oaks catastrophe following a fire in Texas, Amber sustained serious burns that covered 90% of her body. Her house. Local reports state that Amber was discovered in her yard, face down. He informed the authorities that the injuries were self-inflicted, characterizing the incident as a faith test. The family and friends were shocked by this concerning circumstance. Demonstrating how serious her difficulties are. Family members and friends were devastated. As Amber was taken in critical condition to a hospital burn center. Physicians believed that her injuries were irreparable, thus the family had to make the difficult choice to remove her from life support. Amber died on May 1, 2020, following a struggle that no family member could have predicted. The Brown family was greatly impacted by her passing. Especially Amber's aunt Amy Brown, who apparently had a strong relationship with her niece. In addition to being personal, the loss served as a metaphor for the difficult circumstances that individuals related to Browns even outside of the wilderness of Alaska. It served as a sobering reminder that significant difficulties can be hidden beneath even the most composed appearances. Amber's story shed light on the dark facets of addiction and mental health that are connected to survival and stardom on reality TV. Typically, stories are blocked. The account of her life and untimely demise showed how unmanageable hidden issues could arise, and help is crucial, particularly when one is surrounded by family members. The shock of Amber's passing did not just to the family but also to the followers, and the conversation about the stress and well-being erupted behind the scenes. At the same time, the Alaskan bush people demonstrated the power of the human spirit in the environment, but Amber's passing revealed the frailty that not even celebrity could shield. In honor of Amber, her relatives and friends chose to focus on her compassion and kindness rather than her struggles, and they therefore thought she was a kind and pure soul. This disaster signaled the gloomy time of the history of the Brown family, but also acted as a reminder to the world to acknowledge the anguish that goes unspoken. As the Browns continued as they navigated their life's journey, Amber's story had already turned into a constant warning that even with the closest family ties, things may fall apart. And in the most erratic wildness. While the family grieved, the consequences of challenging personal decisions started to emerge in unexpected ways, especially in the younger Browns' lives. Bear Brown's legal issues. Solomon Isaiah Freedom Brown, popularly known as Bear Brown, established a distinctive persona as the untamed, courageous third son of Amy Brown and Billy. Of the Brown children, Bear was the first to have a full upbringing in the harsh terrain of Alaska. His passion for exploration, hunting prowess, and lighthearted his peculiarities, such as howling and racing on all fours, made him a popular among fans and a notable figure on the program. Having grown up in the woods, Bear acquired survival skills early on, without ever going to a regular school, but learning through instruction at home, in nature, and through experience. While his childhood aspiration to become although the idea of a superhero or movie star appeared unrealistic, Bear's bravery and vigor brought attention to and away from the camera. 2018 saw the start of a new chapter in his life with Raven Adams. His existence, mixing his wild personality with romance. But Bear's path took a surprising detour. When legal issues arose. Bear was taken into custody close to his residence on March 11, 2022. Accusations of domestic violence-related fourth-degree assault. The arrest surprised supporters because of Bear's reputation as a loving family man and father. After being arrested, he was held at Okanagan County Jail for a weekend before getting freed on bond. Police reports state that Bear had no unlawful alcohol or drugs in his system at the time, but authorities were unable to find any proof that Raven had been choked or strangled by him. The information pointed to a complicated circumstance that defied easy presumptions, adding complexity to the public's comprehension of Bear's personality. Bear made a plea agreement after his arrest. In April 2022, a choice intended to settle the issue amicably and enable him to proceed. He is said to have changed since then, concentrating more on being a responsible father and keeping his family in the background. An important turning point was the arrest, which pushed Bear in the direction of a more reflective stage of his life. Bear's legal issues were in stark contrast to his early years of unrestricted freedom and untamed adventure, emphasizing the difficulties of managing one's private life while being scrutinized by the public. It also emphasized how family and celebrity conflicts frequently cross paths in complex ways, with repercussions that extend past the TV screen. The incident had a negative impact on Bear's reputation, but also on the family's chances for a positive public image in the future. It introduced an additional layer of intricacy to the Browns' continuing story, one of tenacity and in the face of persistent hardship. In spite of the challenges, Bear's tale remains incomplete, with some areas hoping he will keep developing and recover in the upcoming years. His untamed and intimate journey serves as a reminder that even the bravest can encounter unforeseen difficulties. The Browns were dealing with legal problems. Other family members battled their own disputes alongside Bear that would keep the family name under pressure. The fraud conviction of Joshua Brown, sometimes known as Bam Bam, created awe renowned as the second oldest Brown sibling, composed and considerate, frequently lending his technical abilities to the family's attempts to survive on the show. In Alaska, he was raised off the grid. Together with his siblings, he adopted a nomadic bush existence. The origin of his moniker Bam Bam had a habit of bumping into walls as a child, yet he was always keen to study, particularly about addressing problems in technology. When Alaskan Bush debuted on the Discovery Channel, Joshua assumed a role in 2014 that combined modern innovation with wilderness survival, frequently offering assistance with strategy, electronics, and building. But off-camera, his life would become more complex as a result of legal issues pertaining to the family's financial claims. Documents came to light showing that the Brown family made bogus claims to residents between 2011 and 2013 in Alaska to benefit from dividend payments made by the Alaska Permanent Fund to citizens according to state oil earnings. This dishonesty resulted in serious legal repercussions beginning in 2014, involving Joshua, Amy, Billy, and several more family members. Members are accused with several theft and fraud-related offenses. To address the Browns reached a plea agreement, but the case raised questions about the family story about life in the wilderness. Joshua and his father entered guilty pleas to sworn falsification criminal charges, admitting to lying about their state residency in order to illegally receive benefits. Joshua was given a 30-day sentence by the court in jail, imposed a $2,000 fine, and mandated that he pay back nearly $12,000 in dividends. He was also required to put in 40 hours of community service and prohibited from submitting another application for the Alaska dividend. In spite of given the gravity of the accusations, Joshua was forced by this legal chapter to have a laser-like focus on repairing both his career and personal life. Outside of reality TV's glare, Joshua engaged in a variety of pursuits, such as fishing and photography. He even shared some of these social media-related behaviors. Additionally, he is reportedly becoming more active in undertakings involving technology and renewable energy that demonstrated dedication to personal development is still present. He stands out among the others thanks to his serene demeanor and special abilities. More inflated relatives in the press. Despite the fact that the fraud case was extremely detrimental to the family's standing, Joshua's flexibility and rerouting his enthusiasm for new endeavors has led to a fairly positive assessment of the circumstances. The moment his time away from the program gave him the chance to improve himself and lead so to speak, a modest life away from the spotlight. Social media presents a less well-known yet diligent someone who was busy with important things rather than dealing with disputes. The fraud case appeared like a shadow. The intricacies of the show's plot and damaged the Browns' reputation of authentic bushcraft abilities. But Joshua's persistent efforts show that he is attempting to live in the future, leaving the past behind with the ties to the family remain unbroken. There is a thin line separating aspiration and liability that describes the majority of his current life path. Joshua was occupied with creating his own way. It was becoming increasingly clear that other family members were becoming embroiled in major legal issues, underscoring the existing turbulent time for the Browns. Such transitions, from the louder, more pressing disputes, contrast with the softer rehabilitations, creating a completing image of the Browns' current difficulties. Josiah Lorton's burglary case and Rain Brown is frequently the most stylish and the Brown siblings' youngest, has likewise faced her fair share of scandal in the last few years. She is well known for standing out from the rest of the family's rough picture. Rain was raised in the bush after being born in Hoonah, Alaska, but she eventually a way of life and hobbies that frequently deviated from the conventional bush route. She has been widely featured on social media, sometimes in a contentious way, with an emphasis on her personal style and connections. Her marriage after becoming engaged to Josiah Lorton, a head chef she encountered when employed at a restaurant, highlighted an important chapter. Their public shows of love and passion appeared to offer security and contentment, with Rain frequently sharing sincere Josiah tributes on her Instagram. However, beneath this exterior, difficulties were brewing for which neither seems to be entirely ready. In a turn of events that startled both family and fans, Josiah and Rain were taken into custody in relation to a serious burglary case involving a relative. Court filings state that they were charged with stealing $75,000 in cash, gold valued at $85,000, pricey wine and champagne, multiple handguns, plus additional personal belongings from Josiah's uncle's Washington state rental home. The accusations included malicious mischief and first-degree burglary, with Rain also accused of committing criminal trespass in the second degree. Josiah's uncle, Jason Aste, made the allegation that Josiah was entrusted with the whereabouts of these assets during a challenging divorce phase, but eventually turned into a suspicion when everything vanished. Josiah and Rain were allegedly caught on surveillance tape on the premises, and in the days that followed, officers noticed the presence of stolen goods. The incident, strengthening the evidence against them. Even though the charges are grave, when arraigned, Rain and Josiah both entered not guilty pleas and were released without posting bond. Following a stay of roughly 3 days at the Okanagan County Jail. Their court date is still set. Pending while the legal process is ongoing. In the meanwhile, the pair has kept up a public presence, as Rain posts notes that some people decipher as cryptic reactions to the circumstances. But refraining from providing a thorough public explanation. She cited a Bible verse in her Instagram post regarding condemnation combined with a sincere letter addressing charges and professing betrayal from a thief, implying layers of interpersonal strife in the midst of the legal dispute. She urged her supporters to hold off on passing judgment and pledged to defend her position when the time came. Correct, displaying both weakness and defiance. The case of the burglary is an important stain on the Brown family's reputation during a period when they were already facing more scandals and their show's continuous exclusion from public broadcasts. The lawful entanglement caused their wilderness expedition to focus on issues of familial strife, loyalty, and trust. Josiah and Rain's predicament is still open. With the public eagerly awaiting any changes in court dates approaching. Their narrative gives the family's continuous story a dramatic and agonizing chapter, a stark contrast to the robust image that was fostered on the screen. It emphasizes that notoriety in family relationships do not protect them from severe unrest. As the Browns battled in court and loss, their public perception remained erratic, influenced by both internal and external factors. Some battled to keep their dreams alive, while others felt the burden of everyday living. Repercussions, and the tale was far from finished. Family relationships and public debates. The Browns' tale is more than just survival. Amid the vastness of Alaska, but also a tapestry woven with intricate family relationships and public disputes. Following the show's break, the family found it difficult to stay united in the face of losses as well as legal issues. Although their intimate relationship was frequently depicted on screen, real life was full of conflicts, tensions, and the burden of expectations. Both from outside the family and from within. Their struggles have highlighted the magnifying effect of celebrity. Issues that might be kept private otherwise. Every setback, including arrests and medical emergencies, the Browns struggled to deal with criticism from the public while coping with their personal pain and disagreement. Their struggles have highlighted the magnifying effect of celebrity. Issues that might be kept private otherwise. Every setback, including arrests and medical emergencies, the Browns struggled to deal with criticism from the public while coping with their personal pain and disagreement. A large portion of the family's more recent story was formed by this combined pressure, revealing rifts that lie beneath their unified front. Social media turned into a two-edged sword. For the family, offering a forum for communication and self-expression, yet inviting scrutiny, rumors, and criticism as well. The acts of every member were examined and debated, raising the significance of each individual error. The public as the Browns' rough exterior frequently conflicted with their frail human nature, creating it as more difficult to distinguish between performance and reality. Relationships changed behind the scenes as family members went in different directions. Some introspectively focused on recovery and self-improvement, whereas others continued to be well-known while dealing with the fallout from their decisions. The equilibrium became a constant struggle between privacy and openness as the Browns attempted to preserve their legacy in a drama-loving world. Adding to this stress were legal concerns that raised suspicions about the family. Accusations of fraud, arrests. These legal disputes not only interfered with private life but also put the integrity of the program's image. Both detractors and admirers questioned how much of their depicted way of life was real, casting doubt on its veracity of their tale of wilderness survival. The suspicions were bolstered by assertions that at times, the story's events and some aspects were either exaggerated or staged, resulting in conversations about how difficult it is to distinguish between reality and fake television. Some saw the Browns' transition to a more affluent lifestyle as proof of the family's dubious genuine way of life and goals. However, the fans assert that these difficulties demonstrate the Browns' generosity and fortitude outside of the cameras. The public's view of the family remains extremely complex tale, one of unwavering devotion and affection, but also one of errors and disputes. Their readiness to publicly discuss their difficulties is seen as a sign of their continuous efforts to forge a fresh identity devoid of the sensational news reports. The Browns are continuing their quest for atonement in the hopes of reclaim the ability to narrate their own tale. Despite the chaos, the Browns exhibit a great commitment to maintaining a close-knit family. They continue to convey their desire for the program to return and for them to be able to re-establish a steady public presence and trust. This shared desire acts as a reminder that even families experiencing conflict, in this instance, the Browns are still working on their recovery and development. Their journey serves as an example of how surviving it also entails being able to do more than merely acquire the abilities required for wilderness existence. To endure a harsh test of character, the storm of public opinion and personal adversity just as hard as the winters in Alaska. The contentious public perception of the Browns is thus closely linked to historical discussions of their way of life, exposing a huge disparity between their both off-screen and on-screen identities. Wilderness survival versus contemporary life. The Brown family is shown as living in a harsh wilderness. Dwellers have long sparked both curiosity and mistrust. As their lives revolve around regarding the difficulties of the Alaskan bush, detractors contend that their dependence on contemporary resources exposes the veracity of their survival narrative. This conflict between practical modernism and idealized bush existence have generated discussion on what does living off the grid really mean. The Browns' home is frequently portrayed as being homemade. Its bare bones was depicted in the series as evidence of their perseverance, but rumors implying that they occasionally stayed in more cozy settings. Such disclosures suggested that their way of life was not as solitary or severe as depicted, raising concerns concerning the harmony between manufacturing requirements and reality. Their methods for hunting and obtaining food attracted attention as well. While the men's fishing and hunting excursions demonstrated crucial, viewers discovered that Amy Brown's twice-monthly grocery runs were an example of survival skills. An essential component of their survival strategy. This combination of sporadic supply and foraging runs are a perfect example of the family's practical strategy, balancing bush life while allowing for certain comforts. As noted by critics, the show's editing and Discovery Channel marketing may have improved the dramatic effect, creating tales that tend to be more entertaining than real documentaries. Such critiques cast doubt on the history that the Browns are completely cut off from contemporary conveniences, instead implying a hybrid lifestyle impacted by the pressures of television. Communities in Alaska have also expressed doubt, asserting that the Browns' background and abilities don't entirely match customs and knowledge of traditional bush living. These claims support continuous discussions over the ethics of representing and cultural representation wilderness survival for large audiences. Concerns regarding the family's place of residence. The situation is further complicated by history. According to official documents, the Browns spent much time living outside of Alaska, rebutting assertions of ongoing bush dwelling. This disparity exacerbated legal problems and public skepticism over their relationship to the territory they claim as their own. In spite of these disputes, many people find resonance in the Browns' narrative because they are a representation of liberty, exploration, and familial fortitude. Their endeavors encourage discussions about living a simpler life away from the demands of the city. Different approaches of living in the contemporary environment. The family's balancing act between traditional methods and broader concerns like identity, authenticity, and survival in a complex world are reflected in contemporary reality. Linked age. It demonstrates how a person's story and the public's image can diverge and how the truth frequently resides in the middle. In the end, the Browns' way of life represents the tensions between adopting some necessities and trying to live simply. Their experience poses significant queries regarding what it means to endure and prosper. In the modern world on one's own terms. The intricate balancing act of the family contrast modern life and wilderness survival highlights the uncertain future that the bush people of Alaska are in for. Alaskan bush people's future. Fans are left wondering if the Alaskan bush people will survive or the Brown family will never make a significant comeback to television. Following the sudden break from the show and the numerous difficulties they've faced, including personal losses, legal issues, and unrelenting public scrutiny, the Browns will have a difficult time regaining their previous position in reality.tv. What was once praised for its unvarnished spirit of adventure has become convoluted. With concerns about resiliency, genuineness, and the psychological toll of celebrity. Previously referred to as pioneers who carved out a living for themselves in the woods are now seen through a prism that strikes a balance between skepticism and respect. Notwithstanding these challenges, the Browns have expressed a genuine wish to continue Billy Brown's ambition on multiple occasions. His death in although 2021 left a huge hole, it also brought the family together for a same goal. Bam Bam, Gabe, Bear, Amy, Rain, and all of Noah have expressed their will to continue living the life their father had planned for them, one based on a connection to the land, simplicity, and faith. Billy's idea of independence, and even when they adjust to the times, unity still serves as the basis for their decisions. Their mutual fans have faith that the Brown narrative is not yet over because of his dedication to upholding his legacy. Social media has emerged as a vital link between the Browns and their fans in the digital age. By means of posts, live streams, and family updates, they offer genuine insights into their day-to-day activities, managing their homestead, raising children, and the emotional journey of mourning and rebirth. These glimpses into their private lives enable fans to prioritize their humanity over their status as reality TV stars. This openness fosters trust, changing the family's reputation and assisting them in taking back control of their narrative. However, since Alaskan Bush People debuted, the entertainment industry has undergone significant upheaval. In 2014. Today's viewers prefer content and honesty above spectacle, therefore any potential return will rely significantly on self-awareness and honesty. Previous scandals, ranging from court cases to negotiations with networks, may become more difficult if there are concerns about the show's truthfulness. However, they additionally offer a chance for atonement, should the Browns decide to face their past openly and demonstrate sincere personal development. Legal issues pertaining to specific relatives, Josiah and Rain, are among those who still throw a long shadow. These unsolved problems influence public perspective and might cause any production goals to be delayed. Therefore, the family must concentration recovery and security prior to embarking on new endeavors. Beyond the news headlines, the values that Browns appear to be emphasizing, faith, family, and emotional healing, could eventually serve as the foundation for a more robust future. However, the Browns story still goes on. Connect with viewers captivated by their tale of tenacity and survival. Their unquestionably resilience is demonstrated by a family that has been continually beaten down by tragedy and fate, but always managing to reconstruct. If they are able to strike a balance between earnestness and amusement, they might once more encapsulate what made Alaskan Bush People such a cultural phenomenon: the battle to be rooted in nature, family, and purpose in a world that is becoming more and more disconnected. In the end, the Browns' path illustrates something bigger than a television. It represents the contemporary need for regeneration, simplicity, and belonging. Their narrative has always focused on the pursuit of knowledge rather than merely existing in the woods. Identity and purpose in the face of ongoing change. Fans are still waiting, but one thing is certain: if the Browns are able to focus on unity and honesty in their next chapter, might turn out to be the most significant one yet. The Bush people of Alaska have encountered extraordinary difficulties, loss, legal issues, and public scrutiny that have altered their story that went above and beyond what fans anticipated. Their experience serves as a stark reminder that surviving is as much about growth and resiliency as it is about nature. If you came across this glimpse into their lives informative, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and check back for more news about this and other stories that are important to you.